Yeah, this was a really good foundation for us in the early goings of GLIAC conference play. The theme of this past week was to take care of business, and we did that pretty much seamlessly. We were able to get a lot of people into the match against Lake State and contribute in different ways. And then in Saginaw, we mostly played with our starting lineup, but we needed to make one switch, and Brooke was able to come in and help a lot in that match and get it done for us in 3. So every match is a battle for sure, but we knew going into these two that we just need to stay on our A game and take care of business, essentially, and we did just that. Yeah, it's a luxury for sure. We have some very, very talented setters, and any team in the league would be very happy to have them, I'm sure. But yeah, it's awesome being able to rely on Tess with the senior leadership. She's been in these tough positions before. And then to also have the grace and the dignity to let Maddie have some time with it too, because, Maddie's going to be our future. And it's super important for her as a freshman to get exposure to this and to every little aspect of all of what we're doing here. So, having Maddie step in against Lake State was super helpful. She got a feel for that type of environment, and, it's kind of a home match for her to an extent. But yeah, it's just really awesome being able to switch between the two. And it's a luxury, like I said, and we can kind of go based on matchup. If we're looking at a match ahead of us and we see maybe a little bit better pairing with one setter versus the other, then we can switch between the two. Both players have handled the switching very professionally. We're constantly talking to them about all this. But it's very easy for players to be selfish about that and want their own playing time and not let anyone in that position, but they're both being very gracious about it, very professional, and understanding that when they both win, we all win. So yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we actually had a meeting about this with her yesterday. We were watching some film and kind of talking her through some of the mentality with it. She's in a really good spot right now where she's kind of got the freshman blissful ignorance. And we're trying to promote that in the sense that it's a positive thing of you don't have a ton of expectations. You can just kind of go up and take the best available shot. You don't feel like you need to have X amount of kills every night. Like once those expectations start to creep in as older players, then you start to see a lot more anxiety and a lot more performance anxiety and stuff like that. So she's in a good spot right now. The message to her going forward for this season is, just take what's available and continue to just be smart in the moment. We're continuing to develop some of her different shots and different routes that she's running and maybe different ways that we can use her offensively. And her block is developing as well. But for right now, it's just go be athletic, go play the way that you want to play, and just be up and available with kind of little to no expectations. Like just get the job done and play freely. Yeah, we scouted that their middles tended to be really jumpy, meaning that our setters could kind of trick them out left and right. So our setters, I guess it was Tess in that one, she did a really good job of staying very neutral back, meaning that it's hard to read them. If you're leaning a certain way, the middles might go accordingly. But Tess was very straight up and down, kind of taking a peek out of the side, where are you leaning? And then going the other direction. So Tess was very tricky and was able to get Maddie quite a bit of looks that were one-on-one or even a couple one-on-nones. And then the theme is just, look for the daylight. So when you're going up to attack the ball, obviously you're looking at the ball, but in your periphery, you can see shadow, which is the block, and the light. So we're always just swing into the light, and that's where she's at. Yeah, similar to the mentality with Maddie Torla, Rachel is just so much fun. And she just loves to be playing wherever it's at, and she wants to contribute in whatever way that we're asking her to. She had an excellent game on Saturday. She was unstoppable. There was a point where she had just subbed off in her normal rotation, and I was like, Rachel, I think you're hitting over this block. And she's like, yeah, I can kind of see that because I'm going up and I don't see any block. I'm like, okay, keep hitting over the block. Do it. Just whatever you got to do. So yeah, she's just so athletic and she jumps so well and she's such a fun player. You can just kind of chuck it up for her and she'll go do something good with it. She really had fun in that match. I know she had a ton of family in the stands and just was in a really good mental space for that one. So we're hoping that she can just bring that again in all these future matches. But yeah, similar message to Maddie Torla is just go do your thing and we'll give you a couple tactical things, but we're not going to bog you down with all the strategy and all this stuff. It's just go use your talents and put the ball away. Yeah, that goes back to the training, not to toot our own horn as coaches, but, we don't exclude anybody from reps. Everyone gets the same looks, the same feedback, all of that. And we did a lot of laying the groundwork in the spring to really develop our touches and all of that stuff. So with the goal being now in the fall when we don't have a ton of time to go over the the skill and all the nitty gritties that, we've already touched on all that stuff, and everyone's got a good solid foundation. So, we're not trying to have anyone play catch up in this season. It's just where are we at? We've already laid the groundwork and let's go. So yeah, I think we've got a good mentality across the team of we can pretty much throw in anybody at this point and they would make a good difference. And I don't know that we've had that luxury on past teams. There's been quite a drop off when you looked out in the roster, but right now we're very, very deep, which can be difficult at times when you're making roster decisions or lineup decisions. Only X amount of people can play. But if you've got a lot of people that are kind of right on the cusp, then sometimes they're not in that immediate roster. So we're also having to reinforce the culture piece of like, okay, maybe your number's not being called in this moment, but you never know when it will be called. So we need to maintain a certain level of readiness and understanding that maybe just today's not my day, but it might be tomorrow. So we have to be really diligent in practice. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've had some unfortunate setbacks with injuries this year, and we're moving along in the rehab process, and surgeries are happening, all of that stuff. So of course we would love to have the two to have Kate and Bryn with us. But, they're going to be such big contributors going forward, and they have some eligibility left. So looking ahead to the future, it's promising that we're going to be able to bring those two back in particular and have them be assets going forward. Yeah, that would just be, the sprinkles on the cupcake if we had those two right now. But, we got to roll with what we've got. Yeah, it's a weird week for us. So typically we play Friday, Saturday, and this week we are Thursday, Sunday. So it's going to be different for us. We were kind of mapping out our schedule for the next 2 weeks because next week is crossover, which is another weird week. But yeah, prepping specifically for Northern, it's such a fun match. Any way you shake it, regardless of records or personnel or whoever, just that rivalry is always so much fun. Both teams always show up with a ton of school pride and just, fun competitiveness. It's also going to be our mental health awareness game. So there should be some good vibes and promotions going on with that game as well. And Northern will be also participating in that in their own way. But yeah, it's just such a fun game. There's so much history between the two teams. We obviously collaborate on a lot of things administratively and with scheduling and the league and all of that stuff. But when it comes to the actual match, we're here. So it'll be a really fun one. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, it's kind of nice. For our scouting meeting tomorrow, we're only going to cover Northern. We're not going to, go super in depth about things, but just our normal version of scouting and all that. But it's nice to only focus on one team at a time, where typically you have to cover two teams in one meeting. So we'll just cover Northern tomorrow. And then once that game happens, then we'll have a separate meeting to look ahead to Purdue. So it's nice to have that little bit of a split. We can really compartmentalize. And yeah, the Purdue match is going to be its own thing. We're going to fly a really reduced roster down there and make just a one night trip out of it. But yeah, that'll be a good one. And both of these matches are super important. There's so much parity in our league right now, and there's a lot of teams that are very similar records. And these two matches this week for all the teams across the conference are going to be very pivotal going into the crossover as far as seeding, because you want to be in the top half as best you can. So yeah, these are both really, really crucial matches for us, and we're hoping to come out on top. Yes and no. I feel like I've just been on the sidelines for so many that each time is different. So it's hard to have expectations going into the match because you never know what's going to get thrown at you or what the situation's going to be. We've played matches where one team has gone on a 7 or 8 point run, and then you think you got it in the bag, and then the possession changes, and then the other team goes back on that run, and then all of a sudden you're tied again. And other times have been blowouts. Other times have been neck and neck into the fifth set. So every single match is different. But yeah, being on the head coach side of it, it's kind of fun that I can kind of take a step back at times, especially during the warm-ups. When you're an assistant coach, you're heavy doing all the warm-ups, you're doing a lot of the game admin stuff, you're just kind of running around, and then all of a sudden it's game time. But as the head coach, especially when we're at home and we've got all of our student staff, I can kind of mull around a little bit, kind of, just check it out. Yeah, it's just a different vibe, but yeah, it's fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.